Hello, Versus System folks, yet again. I actually wanted to highlight one thing, and that's this versus.tcg browser. It's really great, obviously, to find cards and be able to search throughout the many different cards that have come out within this game. I know a lot of people say like this game has still yet a lot of cards to have come out for it, but um, that's kind of true compared to other games that have been around for a while. But yeah, this is my next episode of How Are They Now from this How Are They Now series for Versus System 2 PCG. And I kind of wanted to just see, yeah, how some of these cards that came from the original Marvel Battle set are today. And today I wanted to highlight Storm. I know from before I kind of had it within like an image viewer and things like that, but I decided to just kind of do it with this. Not gonna lie, I understand if it's kind of difficult to read or anything from these images, but I'm just kind of taking it from the database here. But here we have Storm, main character. I'm gonna start focusing on the main characters first, then I'll get into like supporting characters and things like that. Storm main character. Storm is X-Men team affiliation. She has flight. She has 2 attack, 5 defense with 5 health, and she has a superpower called Lightning Storm. During the main phase, you can pay a blue or an energy and put 2 -1/-1 counters divided as you choose on up to 2 enemy characters. Now, this superpower kind of was like when I actually first started to play as her when I got the set. Like, it was a really confusing power. I was kind of like, what are you trying to say? But I guess that means like you get 2 -1/-1 counters and you can just split them up however you want to do it. You can put 2 on one person, you can put 1 on each person, but you can only put it on up to 2 enemy characters. So it's an okay superpower. I think some people really like it because you can put 2 -1/-1s on some opponents, and if there's some like devastating 1-drops and things like that you want to get rid of, that could be one method of doing so. So that's her superpower. Then her level up power is Children of the Atom. Level up 3 XP. When you activate a superpower, Storm gains an XP. So what has come out so far since the original set that kind of makes Storm a little bit more viable? Well, I think Storm kind of from the very beginning, and I may be wrong, I thought Storm was actually a relatively big pick for some sort of tournament play and things like that in the early stages of Versus System. And rightfully so. She could be very aggressive with her play style and everything that you guys can see here. 2 attack, 5 defense with flight. 5 defense with flight is actually pretty good for a level 1 main character. That's what I think, because having a high defense total to be able to help obviously defend your characters from behind her and things like that could be very valuable. 5 health, yet again, I know a lot of people who played the early stages of this game saying that 5 health is really kind of not viable anymore. But the problem with power creep is that if you keep increasing the health of characters as the game continues on, then a lot of the original set characters kind of start to be seen as kind of like, well, unplayable. So let's see, like, is Storm playable still, considering with some of the expansions that have come out? Well, one thing that I have to say with Storm that I think is a big person to kind of look into is Captain Swain. I believe I'm pronouncing it right. Captain Swain. So from the Inhumans, Captain Swain has telepathic nudge on top of Terrigenesis, but Terrigenesis really has nothing to do with Storm. It could be helpful. But telepathic nudge, when Swain appears, choose a superpower on a supporting character. It costs 1 power symbol less to use that power the next time this turn. So it could be pretty valuable if you put down Captain Swain on turn 2 with a 1-drop character and then be able to say like, well, their superpower is going to be paid for by this. So this way you don't have to worry about running out of power symbols. Captain Swain can be that additional power symbol for you or that additional location that you need, which is really why I like this card a lot. So Captain Swain, not too bad with the expansion. Kind of makes it a little more viable. The only thing is that Storm can level up so fast. It's not necessarily needed in a Storm deck, but it could be useful if you're really having a hard time getting locations. Captain Swain could be the person for you. One person that I did put into my deck with Storm is Cyclops. Who came in from the Monster Madness. I think it's called Monster Madness. I may be wrong. Monsters Unleashed? I think it was Monsters Unleashed. Something like that. It was a big box expansion, and he was part of the Champions team. Different moniker of Cyclops. And right here he has range, 2 attack, 2 defense with 1 health. But it's really his superpower, guys, that's really helpful here. Trigonomic Blast, main, you pay a blue, choose an enemy side, and put a -1/-1 counter on the main character, a front row supporting character, and a back row supporting character on that side. Now, a lot of people have said, this is, really useless. A lot of people didn't think this was really useful because you're playing a -1/-1 counter up to 3 different people. I find this. When I first saw this, I was like, "Wow, that's kind of powerful for a 1-drop." Pay a blue and you could put out a -1/-1 counter on up to 3 characters. I thought that was pretty good. Considering some of the other things that have come out that I think works well with Storm, but yeah, it's a superpower. It's a 1-drop. So the thing is that he's cheap. He has a superpower and he puts -1/-1 counters. As you're going along with this as well, you kind of start to notice how all this kind of comes into play. Once you have that, you're going to need to look at the person that also is going to be very helpful with these superpowers, and that's Bishop. Bishop being a different name from the actual Alien expansion Bishop that we have here. This Bishop actually has range, 2 attack, 2 defense with 2 health. Energy transference. When you use a blue superpower, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Bishop. So obviously, since Storm has a blue superpower, and on top of that Cyclops has a blue superpower, you have a bunch of blues that can actually just keep buffing up Bishop in your back row. And since Storm has, that high defense total with the flight, you can have this huge, massive guy in your back row that's just a whole bunch of these +1/+1s that has accrued so far in the game. So, yeah, so he kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as you use blue superpowers. So with Captain Swain relieving some of the cost of those superpowers, and on top of that, you have a 1-drop Cyclops that can use a blue superpower and stuff like that. He just kind of continues and continues on with that, with that whole thing going on. As you continue on with with this whole superpower ordeal, you're going to need to kind of figure out what you want to do once you get to that. And I think one character that needs to be looked into when talking about Storm is Viper. Mostly because of her poison darts and the succumb to poison. So think about it. You can have Cyclops putting -1/-1 counters out, Storm putting down -1/-1 counters, Viper putting out -1/-1 counters, and then doubling them at the end of the turn. So it could be pretty devastating. So the thing is that Viper, I think by turn 5 could be really useful if you're keeping up that -1/-1 counter generation to just weaken and weaken and weaken your opponent's side. So I think that's pretty valuable. Considering I think her with Cyclops works well because he could put -1/-1 up to 3 people, and then she can double all those to 2 -1/-1s. And then also from the Inhumans team, we have Inferno. Inferno I like because of the fact that he has a blue superpower. So there you go, Bishop. There's some more +1/+1s. And on top of that, he can take all those -1/-1s you put out onto an opponent's side and then put them all onto one character. Right? So let's say you're getting near the end of the game. You really need to figure out how you're going to kind of defeat some of these characters. Inferno is definitely going to be helpful in order to do that with Storm. So since Storm kind of relies on that -1/-1 counter generation, that's kind of how that plays. Some people may make Storm decks with new cards that have come out that doesn't focus on the -1/-1 generation, but I particularly think that if you're not doing that, I'd be really interested to see what you guys do. I know a lot of people look at this game through a whole different lens, and I like to know what you guys think. But yeah, that's what I have so far for these cards. I like Inferno. I like some of those things. And then we also have, I want to say it's this one, yeah. Also with the Inhumans, since you would have Captain Swain and Inferno with you, you can bring Emerge from the Cocoon, put +1/+1 counters on a character that appeared this turn. So as you're putting -1/-1s on your opponent, you're putting +1/+1s onto yourself. So even with the Terragenesis, that's really good. So even though you exhaust them, put 2 on there, you can play this, put another 2 on them. And that Inferno can go from a 2/2 with range to a 6/6 with range just in your back row from just recruiting him and playing this. So I think Inhumans works well with Storm. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some people don't think this is a good thing, because I've heard from some people that have talked that they say Inhumans is kind of the weakest of the group. Maybe they are. Like I said, I really am not like a great, and I know this kind of doesn't give me much credibility, but I'm just a big fan of the game, and I'm learning a bit more about how to play these sorts of games. But I found Inhumans to be very good, very good pick for Storm. And then once you go to the higher levels with Inhumans, I thought Black Bolt would have been really good as well, since he has hypersonic voice and he has flight 7/6, so he could be an additional defender on your side to help those back row characters. Hypersonic voice: when you play your first plot twist each turn, say its name out loud. Put X -1/-1 counters on an enemy character where X is number of words in that plot twist name. I think when people heard about this, they said, you have to kind of go back to the original. The original plot twist here, where best offense is a good defense, which would put 6 -1/-1 counters onto a character when using this. So, pretty good. So I find that to be pretty useful. Although you really wouldn't need it anymore unless they were like a really huge buff character. You really wouldn't need it anymore because, the fact that you would have brought them down with 6 -1/-1 counters. But, yeah, those are some cool things to kind of look into. But yeah, those are some new things that I've been kind of looking into that could help Storm with leveling up, with continuing her on. But let's look at what happens when she becomes level 2, right? I think the reasoning behind these stats, and I could be wrong, but I think when Danny Mendel and Ben Shahosky made the game, I think when they created these stats, I think they went under the impression that they thought she can get to level 2 really quickly. So they probably didn't think that she would need incredible stats. Because to be honest, these stats are kind of low for a character with flight. 5 attack, 6 defense with 5 health. Not that great. And that's why I think Storm is such a less viable character today, because there's so many more characters that have come out since the original Marvel Battle set that have more survivability, that have higher defense totals and higher health totals. But the idea behind Storm, yet again, is to lower the attack and defense of your opponents to make it even more difficult for them to take Storm down. So I can understand why this would be low, considering you're continuously putting -1/-1 counters onto characters. But then she has a second superpower, Windstorm. During the main phase, you can pay a skill or a red. Characters on your side gain flight this turn. So that's, I found that to be a little underwhelming when I first saw it, but then I started thinking, wow, this could be really powerful, because if you take down maybe one person with flight in their front row, and then maybe they have some really big characters in their front row, but their main characters in their back row, you have a whole bunch of people be able to fly over there, depending on how many people are on your side, in order to do that. Also, I started thinking about combining this with people who have Ferocious. So having high drop characters with Ferocious to be able to kind of attack them. One card actually which came from the original set is Beast, in which right here, Beast is a 4-drop 5/2, Ferocious Genius, and has 2 health. But I believe there is a higher drop Ferocious card, sorry. A higher drop Ferocious card. You have Perfect Organism, who's a 4/8 with Ferocious, which isn't absolutely great. But you also have Corvus Glaive, who is Ferocious and is a 7/2 5-drop. So there's a few other cards that have come out, like even Spiral has Ferocious, and she's a 7/3/4 drop. So there are a few other characters that do have some better stats and things like that going along with that. Actually, Spiral is like supremely better than Beast as a 4 drop, and you can just see that with the power creep. Like, yes, like she only has 1 health and she has mobile, where where you can put her in your front or back row. And Beast does have Genius, but the thing is that without the ability to move him out of the front row, he's gonna get killed. So those are just some kind of things here, because I feel like Beast's Genius ability, but we'll talk about that later, never really gets used. So kind of going into that, you do have cards with Ferocious, like especially you have in the X-Men team. You even have Wolfsbane, who came out later on, that is a 4/1 with Ferocious. So pretty powerful stuff here. But it's just you have to kind of figure out what your strategy is going to be. Do I think Storm is more viable than Wolverine, who I've already talked about so far? I think Wolverine has more of an ability to survive on the playing field, even though he has a lower defense. He has that healing a wound ability and Victoria Hand being able to keep him alive. So Storm, ultimately together, I would say I can say she could be more middle tier to lower tier, unless you find other ways of kind of boosting her up. Like, one way I can say about boosting up are characters that have Soldier in their name, like Hydra. So if you mix her with Hydra and you have soldiers who, when they appear, put up -1/-1 counters, that could be very powerful. And then also having Viper on that team as well to double those counters can be very devastating. That's just one way of doing it. Like, you can just have a whole bunch of these Hydra characters, even have Baron von Strucker there with you, and just keep putting those -1/-1 counters out. That is another valid strategy you can do with Storm. And these guys came out with the Shield v Hydra expansion. And you have Supreme Leader here as well. So there are a few things that you can kind of look into when you're creating some of these decks. But all I have to say is that with the new cards that have come out, I think Storm is pretty powerful with the -1/-1 counter generation. It's just, I think you have to figure out what you're going to do with that flight ability once you guys get it. So you might want to have big characters in your back row that have like really high attack totals that will have flight and range that she protects behind her. And just kind of consider those sorts of things as you're playing the game. Just remember, though, that 5 attack, 6 defense is pretty weak. So you're probably going to need to have a very aggressive deck in order to take down your opponent. You really need to take them out before they can become level 2. So you're going to need to have characters that are going to try to ensure that. One card that could ensure that is Scarlet Witch. Is Scarlet Witch. And Scarlet Witch has the ability Hex, which can, prevent characters from leveling up. And she could just kind of sit in your back row, and she has range. So there's lots of different capabilities with Storm. But obviously you want to be aggressive. You want to take down your opponent, because for the most part, that opponent is going to have a good chance. There is going to be a good chance that opponent will have enough attack by the time they hit level 2 to take you down, or have some sort of mechanic or something like that will kind of work out of your favor. But that is my review for Storm. I'd love to have you guys share with me your any comments about how you guys think Storm is today. Do you think she's viable? Do you think she's actually lost some strength as things have continued on with Versus system? Where would you rank her within some of the tiers? Would you consider her a more mid-tier, low-tier, high-tier sort of main character today? And I'd love to see what you guys come up with and share. So thanks again for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you guys enjoy, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay frosty.